Icons, the eyes of God. Excavations in the extreme eastern part of Macedonia, in Yugoslavia, have unearthed some exceptional witnesses to the presence of Christianity right from the age of the catacombs. 40 terracotta icons uncovered there depict Saint Michael the Archangel, the prophet Jonah, Daniel among the lions, Saint George.
I am a painter of icons, and this is my homeland, Macedonia. I journey from one area to another. Through my art, I attempt to witness to the faith, strength, and dignity of my people. Others have journeyed before me along these roads, soldiers and people from different parts of the East. In this very region, St. Cyril and his brother, St. Methodius, came from Greece to begin their mission among the Slavic peoples. In this land lives a simple people. Therefore, my painting too must be simple, restrained, and realistic. Only in this way can it be understood, become popular, and invite people to prayer. Here, farmers and shepherds live on the products of a land that is often arid and unproductive. Their life is difficult and is made easier only by the light of faith in God. My paintings on the walls of the churches and my icons are venerated by them as signs of the presence of God in their lives. In my activity as an iconographer, I have always kept in mind what St. Paul wrote. God takes pleasure in every work of art as a mirror of his glory, and he delights in every holy person as an image of his splendor. I have observed with great interest the works of ancient painters. I recall the refined and dramatic hues of so many Byzantine masterpieces, and I ask myself, what is the secret of the spirituality that becomes form and color?
Icons proclaim the mystery of salvation. For centuries, iconographers have striven to present to Christian believers the content of the faith. Through the skillful use of color, form, and light, they have produced images that have more than aesthetic value. They are symbolic images, images that represent the reality that goes beyond our visible world. The Christ, the Virgin, the saints, the events of salvation history. These images fascinate us and lead us to growth in faith and prayer. The Church officially recognized the painting of icons as a service to believers. The theology of icons, a theology expressed in images, was entrusted only to men consecrated totally to God. Through constant prayer, through the sacramental life, and through the purification of the senses, Eastern monks strove to recall Jesus. They wanted God, His light, His beauty, His splendor to be able to shine through them. This idea of the transparency of God shining through the person is intimately linked to the presence believed to be contained in the icon. This presence of the person or mystery depicted is made possible by the iconographer's spiritual journey. The icons themselves are marked by distinctive features which form part of their symbolic language. The placing of the figures within the total image has a message of its own. There is a whole symbolism of gesture, for example. Outstretched arms may show strength. A hand pressed against the cheek may express grief. Certain figures bear particular signs of their role or office. Martyrs have crosses, bishops the Gospels, prophets scrolls of documents. Often the leading or most powerful figure in the scene is represented on a larger scale than the others. One important characteristic is that icon painters use various artistic techniques to represent their subjects in a single plane. The use of flat primary colors and the arrangement of the figures, as well as a different perspective, produce unity and harmony. All the features of the icon painter's technique reflect a desire to set apart the sacred events and persons represented in their paintings. The holy images are not to look like ordinary people. They are to remind those who look upon them of the holiness of the persons depicted and of the reality and presence of the world of the Spirit. The figure of Christ Pantocrator, he who rules over everything, is a marvelous example of the expressive magnificence of this art. This was the most popular image of the Lord from the 5th century on. Our Lady, wounded by suffering, wrapped in thought, and sharing in the trials of each one of us, lovingly embraces her child and indicates God's nearness to us. In 729, the Byzantine Emperor Leo III forbade the veneration of images and ordered the destruction of all icons. Those who were discovered praying before sacred images were tortured and killed. In 787, the Council of Nicaea, convoked by Pope Adrian I, defended the catechetical role of the icons and condemned the emperor's edict as heretical. The more often and intensely one looks upon the sacred image, proclaimed the council, the more one remembers the person whom it represents. During the time of the Ottoman Empire, the frescoes in all the churches were covered over with other paintings. Only in the last 60 years, through very accurate restorations, have they been brought back to their original splendor. Icons are found even in the poorest homes and are a sign of the religious fervor of the people. They are considered a means for growing in knowledge of God and in intimacy with Him, and are a sign of His protection. The artists who paint frescoes on the lofty walls of churches bring a mark of their personality. Their works show us that when they painted in places of worship, they had a creative freedom much broader than that of those painters who, in the same period, worked at the courts of the Byzantine Empire. Paintings dating from the 11th to the end of the 12th centuries impress us with the imposing nature of their style, the expressiveness of the faces, and the intensity of the colors. The artists who in 1164 painted in the monastery of Saint Pantaleon at Nereze near Skopje showed that they had abandoned the Byzantine pictorial patterns. They are the precursors of the style of Giotto, who some 140 years later painted the same New Testament scenes at Padua. Their figures are no longer rigid and stately, but are rich in feeling, living, gifted with movement, full-bodied, and placed in perspective. The frescoes, like the icons, speak the language of faith. Christ crucified becomes the symbol of the sufferings of each person, but also a sign of comfort, capable of alleviating solitude, misunderstanding, injustice, cruelty, and death. An entire wall is dedicated to the Assumption of Mary into heaven. Untouched by original sin, she also remained untouched by the bodily destruction following natural death. The apostles contemplate her repose before she is taken up into the presence of God. The scenes are divided into 4 distinct levels, from earth to heaven and to the eternal Father, depicting the mysterious unfolding of the event. This method of representing several events simultaneously is a characteristic of medieval icons. Because of their religious value for veneration and liturgical celebration, icons and other sacred images have throughout the centuries been carried by the faithful in religious processions. The icon is a symbol and as such bears the presence of what it symbolizes, that is, God and his transcendence. Symbolic consciousness appeals to the contemplative faculties of a person's mind, heart, and imagination. The Virgin of Tenderness, the Merciful One, intercedes for the sake of the human race. This icon proclaims through the ages the marvel of the Virgin Mother. Her gaze does not rest on the child, but is at once far-sighted and contemplating an inner vision. Her distant gaze may signify the attention she gives to her children, who invoke her assistance. Even the 4 evangelists appear in the icons of Macedonia. This is Saint Matthew. His garments are rich in movement. His face is no longer rigid. Other frescoes picture Christ as the head of the church and the conqueror of death through his resurrection. He is surrounded by his apostles. Still others portray Jesus before his ascension, taking leave of the evangelist John, and depict the main figures in the initial spread of Christianity, especially Peter and Paul. The figures of the 6 popes are of notable historical significance. Their pictures in the Basilica of St. Sophia in the city of Ohrid date from between 1040 and 1050, just before the Eastern Schism.
When I painted the walls and vaults of this monastery with scenes from the Hebrew Scriptures, I always kept in mind the close link with Christ, as he was seen and foretold by the prophets. This theme was attentively studied by St. Naum, the most important collaborator of St. Cyril and Methodius in the evangelization of the Slavs. St. Naum died and was buried in this monastery. The faces that I have depicted in my frescoes aim to witness to the presence of God in the life of human persons. For this reason, I drew inspiration from the Psalms of David, in which the angels, the people of the earth, and all creatures sing glory to God.
I will extol you, my God and King, and bless your name forever and ever. Every day I will bless you and praise your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised. His greatness is unsearchable. One generation shall laud your works to another, and shall declare your mighty acts. On the glorious splendor of your majesty and on your wondrous works I will meditate. The might of your awesome deeds shall be proclaimed, and I will declare your greatness.
Icons, which are the eyes of God, will inspire people to rise above earthly goals and will give them the hope of contemplating forever the beauty of the Creator.